so much shamefully in contrast. They're there in a dynamic interrelationship because it's wealth that creates poverty. The corporations don't go into the third world to start affirmative action programs, to abolish poverty, to uplift these little brown and black and yellow people to the ways of the wise white man. They don't go in to do that, or they actually talk about doing that. They don't go in to help the poor, they go in to help themselves. And that's what they do. Well, okay, Parenti, capitalism doesn't work so well for the common people in those third world countries, but it has given us a good standard of living. Let's now look at that. Will you give me 3 minutes to disabuse you of that myth that some of you, I won't ask for a show of hands, but some of you have held all your life? Let's look at our own North American society. Let's put aside the massive inequalities. Let's put aside the tens of millions who struggle from hand to mouth. Let's put aside the many who call themselves middle class but who live without any real economic security. Let's put aside the desperate ones at the very bottom. Let's put aside the attacks and impoverishment on the public sector and the destruction of a livable environment. Let's just put all that aside for a minute, those little things. And let's accept the idea that we live in great material abundance, and compared to much of the world, we do. Many of us in Canada and the United States live very well indeed. That's why the victims of capitalism, we always hear about the victims of communism wanting to flee communism. Nothing's ever been said about the victims of capitalism. I come from a family of victims of capitalism. My grandparents, both families, came from southern Italy, grinding terrible poverty. They were victims of capitalism. They came over here to be victims of capitalism again, but a little less so. And that's what happens. So let's accept this idea of great material abundance. But it wasn't capitalism that gave us a good standard of living. It was the democratic struggle against corporate capitalism that did it. I mean, why don't Canadians work for 15 cents an hour as people in Haiti and Indonesia do? Is it because you're just so much more self-respecting, you just wouldn't do that? Or is it because you're at a level of democratic class struggle, a historical level that has advanced to a more favorable level? You know, North Americans used to work for starvation and subsistence wages. In 1900, Canada and the United States and the Netherlands and Denmark and France and other countries that are today considered very prosperous capitalist countries, Western industrial countries. They don't want to use the word capitalism as much. They just don't want you to think about capitalism. They were all third world nations almost a half a century before the term was invented. Child labor was widespread. Poverty was widespread. Unemployment, underemployment, 14-hour workdays, no social services to speak of except an occasional church or charity, no social benefits, typhoid epidemics in Philadelphia and Baltimore, tuberculosis, other diseases of poverty, no public housing or public health services to speak of, very little public education, no public libraries, hardly. Advances came not with capitalism. Capitalism was reigning. Capitalism, the capitalist class, the Mellons, the Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Harringtons, all these people, they were making it in there. Advances came when we made certain democratic victories. The 8-hour day, the end of child labor, worker safety, the right to labor unions and collective bargaining, public health programs, disability insurance, old age pensions, These are things that we have been fighting for, still inadequate, still insufficient, still not universal, and yet these things, as inadequately as they are, as incomplete as they are still under siege by the same people who fought against those things. It wasn't capitalism that brought these advances, it was democracy. It was the people acting as the active social agents of their own lives, fighting and struggling for those things. And the capitalists, the rich bankers, the merchant class, the corporate class, the slaveholders, they all fought against democracy. They fought against political democracy as well as economic democracy. In the United States, that class fought against the elimination of property qualifications for voters and office holders. They fought against universal suffrage for working men. They fought against suffrage for women. They fought against the abolition of slavery and Jim Crow. They fought against honest elections, and they're still doing a very good job of that in Florida. They fought against democratic ballot access. They fought against proportional representation, campaign finance reform, civil liberties, and they're still fighting against these things. They're fighting against every bit of political democracy and every bit of economic democracy that benefits the people. So why do you credit the capitalists with the gains that you made against the capitalists? Why do you credit the people who fought tooth and nail and claw and fang against every one of these things, who are still fighting, who are still rolling it back, doing it right here in British Columbia, as you know, fighting against, trying to degrade our standard of living? Every democratic victory we've made is under siege, continually fighting to drag us back to 1900. Why do we credit them with giving us a good standard of living? If they had their way, our kids would be working in those factories 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Credit yourselves, brothers and sisters. So when we say that capitalism works or doesn't work, we must specify for whom. In one important sense, it's incorrect to say that capitalism doesn't work well in third world nations. For the capitalists, it works much better in Indonesia than it does in Denmark. The rate of profit and capital accumulation per dollar invested in Indonesia is 4, 5, 6, 10 times higher than it is in Denmark. Obviously, if you can pay people 15 cents an hour, 12 cents an hour, instead of having to pay them, as in Denmark, with benefits and all that, many, many dollars an hour, you're going to be making much more money. The public sector is smaller. Regulations are less or non-existent or very poorly enforced than they are in, say, the Western European or North American countries. Their goal is the third worldization of everywhere. That's the goal of finance, international finance, corporate capitalism. The third worldization of everywhere. Their goal is to get us back to 1900. I, as a corporate capitalist, every dollar I've got to spend on stupid, annoying, frivolous, unnecessary things like wages and health insurance and pensions and occupational safety and environmental protection. Every dollar I've got to spend on something idiotic like that is one less dollar for me. When will it stop? When will my oppression stop? Now you want seniority rights, now you want collective bargaining, now you want vacations, now you want paid vacations. When will this stop? Until you drag me into total poverty, until I have nothing left on my estates? Okay. So capitalism worked much better. Capitalism worked much better for the capitalists in the United States and Canada in 1902 than in